Every single day, roughly 15% of all global trade passes through a single ditch in the Egyptian desert. The Suez Canal, 193 kilometers of man-made waterway connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, handles over 20,000 ships per year, carrying everything from crude oil to consumer electronics. When the container ship Ever Given ran aground in the canal in 2021 and blocked it for 6 days, it cost global trade an estimated $10 billion per day in delayed goods. One ship, one canal, 6 days, and the entire global supply chain ground to a halt. That incident was not a one-time failure. It was a warning. The Suez Canal is congested, geopolitically sensitive, and operates as a single point of failure for a trading system that moves trillions of dollars in goods between Asia and Europe every year. And now, less than 1,000 kilometers to the east, a country that most people associate with war and instability is building, something that could change the map of global commerce permanently. Iraq is constructing a 1,200-kilometer corridor of high-speed railways, heavy-duty highways, and the largest port in the Middle East, all designed to create an entirely new route between Asia and Europe that bypasses the Suez Canal completely. They call it the Development Road. And if it works, it will not just reshape Iraq. It will redraw the geography of global trade. If this kind of geographic deep dive is what you come to YouTube for, subscribe to Uncharted Geography right now. We cover the choke points, the mega projects, and the geographic shifts the rest of the world overlooks. There is a lot more coming. To understand why Iraq is betting its future on this project, you first have to understand the problem it is trying to solve. Right now, the dominant trade route between Asia and Europe runs through the Strait of Malacca, across the Indian Ocean, up through the Red Sea, through the Suez Canal, across the Mediterranean, and into European ports. It is the same basic route that traders have used for centuries, modernized by the canal that the French and Egyptians carved through the desert in 1869. And for most of the last 150 years, it has worked. But the system is under pressure from every direction. The Suez Canal has a maximum capacity. It can handle roughly 80 to 90 ships per day, and during peak periods, ships queue for days waiting for transit slots. Expansion projects have widened and deepened sections of the canal, but the fundamental constraint, that it is a single narrow waterway through flat desert, limits how much further it can scale. Egypt charges transit fees that have increased significantly in recent years, adding to shipping costs, and the geopolitical environment around the canal has deteriorated sharply. Since late 2023, Houthi militants in Yemen have launched repeated attacks on commercial shipping in the Red Sea, forcing many vessels to reroute around the southern tip of Africa, adding roughly 2 weeks and significant fuel costs to every voyage. Insurance premiums for Red Sea transit have spiked. Some major shipping lines have diverted their fleets entirely. The Red Sea crisis exposed what the Ever Given incident had already hinted at. The Suez route is not just congested, it is fragile. A conflict in Yemen, a political crisis in Egypt, a mechanical failure in the canal itself. Any of these can sever the artery that connects Asian manufacturing to European consumers. The shipping industry is desperate for an alternative. And Iraq, sitting at the northern tip of the Persian Gulf with land borders stretching to Turkey and from there to Europe, is offering one. The centerpiece of Iraq's plan is the Grand Al Faw Port, located on the Faw Peninsula at the very southern tip of Iraq, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers meet before flowing into the Persian Gulf. This port is designed to become the largest in the Middle East. The first phase alone covers 54 square kilometers and is designed to handle 99 million tons of cargo annually, with an initial container capacity of 3 million 20-foot equivalent units. 5 deepwater berths are already complete. The navigation channel dredging is over 90% finished. A submerged tunnel, 2,400 meters long with over 1,200 meters underwater, is in advanced construction, with 7 of its 10 massive concrete segments already placed on the seabed. The 63-kilometer access road connecting the port to Iraq's national highway network is finished. The container yard is nearly complete. The port is being built by South Korea's Daewoo Engineering under a $2.7 billion contract, with Abu Dhabi Ports Group signed on for operations and management. The total cost of the port project is approximately $5 billion, and it is on track for initial operations in the near term, with full capacity expected by the late 2030s. But the port is only half the story. A port without a land connection is just a dock. What transforms the Grand Fall Port from a regional facility into a global game changer is the development road, a 1,200-kilometer integrated corridor of railways and highways that will connect the port in Basra to the Turkish border at Faish Kabur, passing through Diwaniyah, Najaf, Karbala, Baghdad, and Mosul along the way. From the Turkish border, the corridor links into Turkey's existing rail and road network, reaching the Mediterranean port of Mersin and continuing overland to Istanbul and into Europe. The total cost of the development road is estimated at $17 billion. The railway design is 87% complete. The highway design is 73% complete. And in a demonstration of the route's potential, a test shipment sent from Poland to the United Arab Emirates overland through Turkey. And Iraq in 2025 completed the journey in just 12 days. The same trip via ship through the Red Sea would have taken 21 days. That is a 9-day saving, not through faster ships or better ports, but through geography. Iraq sits between Asia and Europe in a way that no canal, no matter how wide, can replicate. If you are finding this fascinating, hit that like button for Uncharted Geography right now. It helps the algorithm push this to more people who want to understand the geographic forces reshaping the world. And if you are not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? The geopolitical architecture behind this project is as significant as the engineering. In April 2024, during a visit to Baghdad by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, a quadrilateral memorandum of understanding was signed between Iraq, Turkey, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. 4 countries, 4 transportation ministers. One signature event that signaled this project had moved from an Iraqi ambition to a regional commitment. Each partner brings something critical. Turkey provides the northern terminus and the land bridge to Europe. Without Turkish rail and road connections, the development road dead ends at the border. Qatar brings investment capital and a strategic interest in diversifying trade routes away from the Strait of Hormuz, through which virtually all of its liquefied natural gas exports currently pass. The UAE brings port management expertise through Abu Dhabi ports and a financial stake in regional logistics dominance. And Iraq provides the one thing none of the others have, the geography. A straight-line corridor from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean that passes through a single country with flat terrain, established cities, and an existing road network that can be upgraded rather than built from scratch. The World Bank validated this bet in June 2025 by approving $930 million in financing for the Iraq railways. Extension and Modernization Project, a direct investment in the infrastructure that will undergird the development road. The World Bank's Middle East director framed it explicitly as a pivot from reconstruction to development, noting that enhanced trade connectivity can stimulate growth, create jobs, and reduce oil dependency. That last point, reducing oil dependency, is the existential driver behind the entire project. Iraq's economy is dangerously lopsided. Crude oil accounts for roughly 90% of the country's export earnings and over 60% of government revenue. Iraq's population has surged from 27 million in 2003 to over 40 million today, with projections suggesting it could reach 50 million within the next decade. 700,000 young Iraqis graduate into the workforce every year. The public sector cannot absorb them. The oil industry, which is capital intensive but not labor intensive, cannot employ them. Iraq needs an economic engine that creates jobs at scale, and a trade corridor handling millions of tons of cargo annually, supported by industrial cities, logistics hubs, and service economies along its 1,200-kilometer route, is exactly that kind of engine. The Iraqi government has already announced plans to build industrial cities and logistics zones along the development road corridor. A smart city within the Grand Al Faw Port complex is in the planning stages, designed as an integrated urban environment with residential, industrial, and service areas. The vision is not just a road and a port. It is an entirely new economic geography for Iraq, one that transforms the country from an oil exporter with a port into a logistics hub that earns revenue from every container, every rail car, and every truck that passes through its territory between east and west. This puts Iraq in direct competition and potential collaboration with 2 other mega projects aiming to reshape Eurasian trade. The first is China's Belt and Road Initiative, which has invested billions in ports, railways, and roads across Central Asia, Pakistan, and Southeast Asia to create overland and maritime corridors linking China to Europe. The second is the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, announced at the G20 summit in 2023, which envisions a multimodal route from India through the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Israel to the Mediterranean. Iraq's development road has a geographic argument against both. The Belt and Road's overland routes through Central Asia are long, cross multiple borders, and traverse challenging terrain. The India-Middle East-Europe corridor requires coordination among 6 or 7 countries with complex political relationships, including Saudi Arabia and Israel, whose diplomatic normalization remains incomplete. Iraq's route passes through just 2 countries, Iraq and Turkey, both of which have signed binding agreements and have strong economic incentives to make it work. The simplicity of the route is its advantage. Fewer borders, fewer political risks per kilometer, a more direct path. Not everyone is celebrating. Iran views the development road with deep strategic suspicion. For decades, Iran has leveraged its geographic position to dominate regional transit routes, particularly the North-South corridor, connecting India through Iranian ports to Russia and Eastern Europe. The development road threatens to bypass Iran entirely, giving Turkey direct access to the Persian Gulf through Iraq without touching Iranian territory. Iranian officials have publicly warned that the project could diminish Iran's role as a regional transit hub. Some Iranian analysts have called for Tehran to integrate with the project rather than oppose it, linking Iran's Chabahar port to the Iraqi corridor through a proposed Shalamche-Basra railway connection. But the tension is real. Iraq's gain is, in part, Iran's loss. And the geography that makes the development road viable is the same geography that makes it a threat to Iran's strategic position. Egypt is watching with equal concern, though less publicly. The Suez Canal generates over $9 billion per year in revenue for the Egyptian government. Any project that diverts even a fraction of Asia-Europe trade away from the canal directly impacts Egyptian state finances. The development road does not need to replace the Suez Canal to hurt Egypt. It just needs to capture enough volume to become a credible alternative. And for shippers who have already been rerouted by Houthi attacks and are paying elevated insurance premiums for Red Sea transit, an overland route through Iraq that saves 9 days and avoids maritime conflict zones entirely is not a hard sell. The obstacles are real and should not be minimized. Iraq's security environment, while dramatically improved from the chaos of the 2000s and 10s, is not fully stable. Powerful militia factions have competed for influence over contracts and territory along the development road corridor. Political fragmentation between Iraq's Shiite-dominated central government and the Kurdistan regional government in the north could complicate construction and governance in the route's northern sections. And $17 billion is an enormous sum for a country whose budget fluctuates with global oil prices. The scale of what Iraq is attempting becomes clear when you compare it to the infrastructure projects that reshaped global trade in previous centuries. The Suez Canal took 10 years to build and cost the equivalent of billions in today's dollars. The Panama Canal took over 3 decades of failed attempts before the Americans completed it in 1914. Both projects were considered impossible by skeptics of their time. Both transformed the geography of commerce permanently. The development road is operating on a similar scale of ambition, but with one critical difference. Unlike the Suez and Panama, which required carving through rock, sand, and jungle to create artificial waterways, Iraq's corridor follows natural geography. The terrain between Basra and the Turkish border is overwhelmingly flat. The cities along the route, Nasiriyah, Diwania, Najaf, Karbala, Baghdad, Tikrit, Mosul, already exist. The challenge is not conquering impossible terrain. It is upgrading and connecting what is already there. And that is a fundamentally different engineering problem than digging a canal through a mountain range. The project has already generated an estimated 100,000 direct jobs and over 1.6 million indirect jobs across Iraq. For a country where youth unemployment is a political powder keg, those numbers matter as much as the geopolitical strategy. Every kilometer of rail laid, every section of highway paved, every berth installed at the Grand Al Faw Port represents not just infrastructure, but stability. The development road is not just a trade route, it is a social contract, a promise to a generation of young Iraqis that their country's future will be built on more than oil. But the project is no longer theoretical. Docks are built, tunnels are being submerged, railways are being designed, test shipments have completed the route, 4 countries have signed agreements, the World Bank has committed nearly $1 billion, and the geographic logic, a straight overland path from the Gulf to Europe through 2 countries with flat terrain and mutual interest, is as old as civilization itself. The ancient Silk Road passed through this exact region for the same reason. Mesopotamia has always been a crossroads. Iraq is simply rebuilding one. The question is no longer whether Iraq can build it, it is whether the world will use it. And if the Suez Canal continues to face congestion, if the Red Sea remains a conflict zone, and if shipping companies continue looking for faster and safer alternatives to the maritime routes that have dominated global trade for a century and a half, then the answer is probably already written into the geography. 1,200 kilometers of road and rail, the largest port in the Middle East, a route that saves 9 days, and a country that the world counted out, building the infrastructure that could make it indispensable. If this video changed how you think about Iraq and the future of global trade, make sure you are subscribed to Uncharted Geography. We cover the mega projects, the choke points, and the geographic shifts that nobody else is telling you about. Hit subscribe, leave a comment telling me what infrastructure project or trade route you want us to explore next, and I will see you in the next one.